This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Today's episode of the Motor City Sports Rant is brought to you by Score, a new mobile app coming to you this August. Score is an interactive game that lets users win deals at bars and restaurants based on what's going on in live sporting events. Find new places to watch the game and save money on your bill at the same time by taking advantage of Score's unique interactive specials that give you an additional stake in the action. A Score special can be anything a location wants it to be, from 10% off an item if a team scores a touchdown to a free round of drinks if the quarterback throws for 400 yards. Any stat can be turned into a game. Pick the deals you want to win, watch the games you want to watch, and score deals in real time. The app will update when your teams or players record a relevant stat. When the conditions of your deals are met, coupons are sent to your device to show to your server or bartender. It's that easy. Score is coming to the App Store and Google Play this August. For more information, check them out on the web at score-app.io. That's score-app.io. And follow them on Twitter and Instagram at Score Deals. Score. Watch games. Score deals.
Detroit is the greatest! Straight up light you on fire for a Coney dog right now.
Darren McCarty comes back to Neiman in front of her. McCarty draws. McCarty in. McCarty scores! He makes it go! Darren McCarty!
Stafford takes, throws, end zone, Calvin, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
What's up, everybody? It's the Motor City Sports Rant on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, episode 117. I am Jason Jarvie. Follow me on Twitter at Jarvie the King. And with me, as always, John, the Doc, Macaroon. Looking, I don't know, you look kind of rolled out of bed.
I'm relaxed. Football's back, Jason. I'm super excited. I really didn't think that I missed football that much, but Sunday, 1:30, I was kind of giddy. I was excited. I was like, okay, I got to get home because I did a little work Sunday morning. Got back home right at 1:34, and the Lions got the football, and I was so excited, geeked, and I was like, okay, what am I going to be today? Am I going to be pessimistic, optimistic? Am I going to peek into some of the matchups? How much am I going to critique Matthew Stafford on his first performance? And then I said to myself, look, at this point in time, football's back, a lot to get into, but it was so nice to sit and just watch a first half of football, one where we got a lot to talk about regarding our Detroit Lions.
I know I had to get in my preseason shape. I got to do my training because I got to be ready come September, October. I need to know what I need to do during these games, and that's why me and the wife and the kid, we took our trip to Yates Apple Cider Mill.
Nice, I saw that. And that's the one right there on 23 in DeQuinda, right?
Yep.
That's right by my crib. It's about maybe 6 miles from my house.
That's the good stuff, man. We went there. Unfortunately, no cider. But by the time football rolls around, cider will be ready, and it'll be ready for Lions season. Ready for taking those days off when the Lions are horribly behind.
Well, I got through a half of football. It started off a little bit slow offensively for the Lions. And I guess the first thing that people will say is, and I really don't understand why, everyone understands that it's the preseason. But when you've waited for football for 9 months and you've kind of watched the Detroit Lions and the history of the team dictates that we're all starving for any level of success. So all the media, all the people that are poo-pooing any success that a player has, it seems like they're kind of unaware or they're burying their heads in the sand. Look, man, we're starved for success. We're starved for anything right now in Detroit sports. And if you don't realize why everybody's like going apeshit crazy for Kenny Golladay, I'll tell you why. The reason is because everybody's going to tell you, look, don't read too much into it. Rookies struggle in the NFL. Just look at Calvin Johnson, who only secured less than 50 catches his rookie season. Calm down. It doesn't really work out that way. Well, why not? Why not Kenny Golladay? Just like the talks we had with prospects. Why not Kenny Golladay?
You talked about it last week, and you said, why not us? Because it happens for other people.
Why not us?
Look at Odell Beckham and Victor Cruz coming out of nowhere. Even years ago, Miles Austin. This is a guy who he was a stretch in the third round. But for all intents and purposes, throughout the first couple weeks of camp and in this preseason game, he looks like a very good NFL wide receiver.
At least he performs when the lights are on. I mean, what else do you want him to do in a preseason game? Drop the football, look all terrible? At least he caught 2 touchdown passes, and that's what I would expect, is go out there in the preseason. That's all you can control, is go out there, if they're going to target you, catch the football. And so if he shows that throughout preseason and he's the number 3 guy, I would be very upset if a significant amount of targets are taken away from him, maybe given to Eric Ebron or somebody else, when you have a guy. And that leads me to, I guess my first point with you is, do you think that in the Lions system, he can break out and become a star? Because I feel like the Lions take the stance of, look, we're going to take this nice and slow, and we're not going to really give this guy too many expectations. We're going to ease him into our system. And I say, no, pedal to the metal. Next game, or the third preseason game, which everyone calls the mock NFL game, you target him 15 times and see what he can do against a supposed solid secondary and first-team players. Put the pedal to the metal and see what you got. Because many people will say, would Odell Beckham Jr. perform at that level if he was on the Lions? And prior to this year, I would say, hell no, he wouldn't. He would just be another guy. So if you have an asset in Kenny Golladay, why not go out there and put the pedal to the metal and let's see what you got? Because dude is fast, dude can catch the football, and at the very least, he needs to be at least your first or second target in the red zone.
Yeah, and I think Kenny KG is gonna come in and he's gonna be that big red zone target. You know, it's something that Joe Fourier did when he was a rookie here. That was I think it's what people hoped that Eric Ebron would be, but he just hasn't developed into there. So certainly we saw it. They get down to the red zone and you're able to target this guy. He's a big target. I think 50-50 balls is going to be one thing. The only thing that I will say is that what I've seen with the Lions and with the way that they play, they do seem to lock in on some guys. So last year, early on, it was Marvin Jones. Throughout camp, it was Marvin Jones looked great. And in the first couple of weeks, Marvin Jones was one of the best receivers in the NFL. Then people figured out what he was doing. The Lions had to readjust, and that's when Golden Tate started coming on. So unless they've magically fixed everything and they absolutely know the progress that they need to go with each receiver, you're going to see him struggle a little bit in the regular season. At
this point in time, just after one preseason game, what we've all seen in practice, the reports are that still to this day, Kenny Golladay doesn't take reps with the first-team offense. Jones, Tate, and T.J. Jones have taken the bulk of the first-team work so far in training camp. And many people are saying that the Lions are going to take this easy with this guy, and they're going to be hesitant to go pedal to the metal with this guy.
Yeah, but T.J. Jones, I feel he's on a very short leash because last year he was supposed to be the number 3 guy at that point, and Anquan Boldin quickly overtook him. So if we see in these next couple preseason games that T.J. Jones, even if he's just middle of the road, and Kenny Golladay continues to do what he's doing, then Golladay is definitely going to be that number 3 receiver. And T.J. Jones, maybe he ends up as the 4th. He might not even end up on the team again if they really like the Jared Abbrederis or the Jace Billingsleys.
So, Jason, why is there a perception that rookie wide receivers struggle? I mean, in articles, everybody's already pointing to Laquan Treadwell, Devontae Parker, Nelson Aguilar, who all struggled in their rookie seasons. They're bringing up that Calvin only secured 48 passes in his rookie season. Is it because of the route running? Is it because of the fact that you got to learn a complex offense? But when you got a guy that's 6'4", 213, I don't understand why, at the very least, you don't at least see what you got. And if he struggles, okay, fine. Then you can maybe, rotate out and bring in T.J. Jones or the number 4 guy should you have another wide receiver on the roster. But why not? What could hurt if they do throw Kenny Golladay in there to be the number 3 guy right now, just based on what we've seen so far?
I mean, I don't really see an issue in putting in the number 3 because you still have Golden Tate, Marvin Jones, and then Amir Abdullah-Theoretic, and I hate to mention him, but Eric Ebron. So Kenny Golladay probably is even lower on that totem pole of being on the check down of Matthew Stafford.
But now, wouldn't you assume that people are going to start recognizing this guy could be a decoy? At 6'4", and you start targeting him early, I would expect that if you're not going to utilize him and you're going to go against what everybody's wanting, then you could have him out there and Golden Tate will probably get more yards. Marvin Jones might be able to secure more catches. I would see that this guy could help your offense in that if you use him just maybe to stretch the field or he's out there to potentially be the red zone guy, I say, look, he's a rookie. Let's see what he's got right now. What harm is he really going to do other than if we start to see a bunch of drops, missed routes, or a bunch of routes where he gets the quarterback, to throw an interception and it's not the quarterback's fault. And if he starts doing that, then we're going to have a problem. But right now, it's been all good.
That's the thing, is that you're going to have to see over time if he can actually be that threat that'll make him a decoy, that'll open up more room for Golden Tate and passes out of the backfield. He needs to actually be able to catch balls and produce for us. I think going back to one of your other questions as to why rookie receivers really struggle their first years in the NFL, it's all those things. It's so many different. It's a completely different playbook than what you played with in college. You're playing with a different caliber of players on both sides of the football, and it's a lot of times these are small guys. In college, so many times you're playing in those spread type offenses where it's basically you just run as far as you can get, and the quarterback will run around until he can get you the ball. We've seen that with Tavon Austin. He was a prolific receiver when he was in West Virginia, but that was because he wasn't going up against NFL caliber talent every week, and he was just that much of a better athlete. Now he comes in the NFL where he's playing against the best players, and he can't put up. And that's why the Rams went out and traded for Sammy Watkins. I'm not sure if Tavon Austin even makes the Rams at this point. But going back to the Lions, we're really going to have to wait and see as to what Kenny Golladay can do. I'm not sure on the yards and the catches, but he's definitely going to be a red zone threat. And if anything, just a threat that you have another big 6'4" receiver who can catch the ball in the corner of an end zone.
Now, to be selfish and to start picking apart some and start to learn some information, I have Matthew Stafford that I drafted last year in the 11th round. So the way our fantasy football league works is if I keep Stafford, I only lose a 10th round pick. So the likely scenario is based on so far, I'm going to probably take Matthew Stafford. If Kenny Golladay is available 3rd round, 4th round, do I take a chance that this is the guy that might get 8 to 10 touchdowns and is the red zone guy early on in the season? What would be the stretch in terms of fantasy football where you draft Kenny Golladay?
3rd, 4th round.
I'm gonna stretch.
John.
I'm getting excited. Can't you tell? The dude's 6'4", catches the ball, and I think he's got a different makeup. I think he's an outlier. I don't think he's going to struggle his rookie year. I'm thinking at this point in time that if they throw him the football in the red zone, you would expect right now that the Lions offense, with Jim Bob Cooter's system and with Matthew Stafford running it and the way that they can be proficient, I would expect them to be in the red zone a lot of times early on in the season.
So let's get nerdy for fantasy football a little bit here. So you think that Kenny Golladay is going to be a touchdown? The main production of his points are going to be touchdowns, right?
Dream scenario, I think he could get 2 or 3 touchdowns that first week versus Arizona.
Okay, so then...
But maybe not a lot of yards, but he could be the guy that gets the football.
And that's the thing. So
still 15 points.
In your league, are you a PPR league?
No.
So you're not getting points per reception. And how many points per touchdown?
6.
So you're going to be super dependent on him getting a touchdown. If he gets those 2 touchdowns or even 1 touchdown, he's worth being probably a flex at that point.
Yes, flex.
But if he isn't, then he's just a big goose egg on your roster.
So maybe the first week, if I have him on my team, wait and see what he does versus Arizona. If Stafford's going to throw to him, if that's the guy, and we establish that, I would assume that if he does it week 1, that he probably could continue it. So
it's possible.
What's a stretch?
But
4th round, 5th round?
The way you want to win in fantasy football is getting somebody that you know can score you consistent points week in and week out. And Kenny Golladay isn't going to give you that week in and week out. And we've gone completely away from our Lions conversation, but 3rd, 4th round, Kenny Golladay is absolutely ridiculous. You probably aren't looking at him until 10th round or later.
10th round or later. No, because that leads us into our talk about what your expectations are for him. For his rookie year, some people are saying in the neighborhood of between 40 and 55 catches, maybe 5 to 7 touchdowns at best. would you say, let's say over under 40 catches, 600 yards, and 7 touchdowns?
I'd probably go under on the catches and the yards, and
right around there for touchdowns if he's successful?
I'd go right around on touchdowns. I hesitate to say over on touchdowns because for anybody to get that number of touchdowns is it's very unlikely, but I would probably, if I had to pick over on any of those, I'd pick it on the touchdowns.
Okay, so
catches is going to be definitely tough. If Theo Riddick and Amir Abdullah are both healthy, those guys are going to get at least 50 catches themselves. And then you got to feed Marvin Jones, you got to feed Golden Tate, and Eric Ebron, if he's healthy and can actually hold on to a ball, you're going to have to feed him.
So the vibe I'm getting from you is pump the brakes, relax. Let's just see how the preseason rolls along, and let's see if Kenny Golladay will be targeted at all, and that you do believe that rookies struggle and wide receivers are really a breed of position that needs time to develop. Okay, I can see that.
I think it's half and half for me because the smart part of my brain says that is to look at it and to wait and make sure that this is the real deal here. But another part of me does believe that maybe we did find a player in
Rookie of the year capabilities
outside of the first round that could do something.
Yes, why not?
That's the crazy fanatic part of me.
See, I think the Lions should take the attitude of like, let's go balls to the wall. Let's put the pressure on this kid and let's see what he's got. Because if you have a diamond in the rough, then you don't treat him like every other bum scrub that's been here for the Lions.
The issue with that also is if you throw him to the Wolves and you just want to throw the ball to him, you're also taking it away then from your tried and true players in Golden Tate and Theo Riddick, who are going to get you the bulk of your yards most weeks.
See, Jason, I'm not like you. I'm taking the stance of like, look, I'm more than willing to be disappointed in the guy's play, but right now he's done everything that's been amazing. And everything that I've seen so far in terms of what he's done in practice, what he's done in the game situation has been pretty good. I'm very happy that we got a young rookie that can come in here and do some things. And why limit him? Why come in here and, make him like everybody else? No, you know what? Maybe, change the culture. That's the whole purpose. That's the whole purpose of having a new regime, a guy like Bob Quinn that could target a guy that's just not going to be another bum of the week. So I'm excited that we got our own version of Kenny G, dude. I'm excited.
No doubt, man. But that's why you're usually so high and so low throughout the season. I have a realistic view of what this team's going to be.
Okay, and so you weren't too overly hyped like I was, but listen, we got a young guy here. Why not? Listen, Kenny G in the house. We got our super talented. I'm going to go on a limb and say it. I think this guy has an opportunity to be the rookie of the year in the NFL. This could be our Odell Beckham. But now Odell is a little bit has a different skill set. A guy that I watched on Hard Knocks and a guy that I've had on my fantasy team in the past, Mike Evans. I think the trajectory for Kenny Golladay, if he can work hard, build his speed, our version of Kenny G projects, I think, to be on track to be similar to Mike Evans. And so I'm going to say it. I think Kenny Golladay is the boss, and he's not going to be limited. He's going to demand the football. And when they throw the ball to Eric Ebron, he drops it. The pressure's only going to mount, Jason. The pressure's only going to mount for Kenny Golladay to get the football. And hell, if Matthew Stafford's not going to get him, maybe he'll be one of those guys that goes to the media. Maybe he'll start to be a diva. I want that. I want the full package. I want the guy that's dancing in the end zone. I want the guy that's the full diva that makes up a star wide receiver. Am I dreaming? You like that?
So, Kenny G or KG? What's the nickname?
I think he's going to stick with Kenny G. I think it's very easy. Many people are liking Go All Day. Some people are liking, Kenny G.
Go All Day. That's a mouthful.
All Day. Yeah. See, I like Kenny G. I think it's a very fair nickname for him. But I think it's fun. It's fun at this point in time, and that's why we do it. That's why we get all excited to talk about a guy. Damn near 20 minutes on one guy. You know why? Because the Lions have not given us that many great superstars that maybe could transcend the position. And why not him?
That are outside of the first round.
Yes, why not him? So the other talking point that people, I guess, are a little bit, I don't know, it's just one of those things where when you look at the Detroit Lions, you're going to have your camp that's supportive of Matthew Stafford, and you're going to have your camp that are going to look for anything to kind of say, look, this is not our guy. So there's already a little bit of a swell, not a lot, a little bit of a groundswell based upon what Jake Rudock did in that first preseason game, based upon Matthew Stafford's one series, that people are saying, look, Jake Rudock's not all that bad of an option. Rudock looked like a backup quarterback. He looked like he knew what he was doing. He didn't do anything really stupid. And so Stafford, of course, threw an interception. The throw wasn't his fault, but it was a little bit high, through the hands of Marvin Jones, deflected, and it's an interception. And people right away were like, look, that's why we don't like Matthew Stafford and stuff like that. But in the end, the way we can talk about it and the way we look at it, simple. Those that are not supportive of Stafford are really looking for anything to get him out. And so I say to myself, oh, look at Jake Rudock. He led the offense. He at least was smart enough to realize, hey, Golladay could catch the football, throw it to him. And so he led a couple touchdown drives. He looked okay. The first couple drives weren't that great, 3 and outs and stuff like that, but at least he looked proficient, and it looks like, having watched the offense, if something were to happen to Stafford, it wouldn't be that bad going to Rudock. But he's not in the position. It wouldn't be that
bad, but it wouldn't be... You wouldn't have a dynamic team.
Exactly. And so for my position, as everyone knows, I'm not a Stafford guy, but I do recognize he's going to be the guy behind center until he does something to lose the job, whether it be have a terrible game with multiple interceptions, doesn't give the team a better chance to win. And if they have to go to Rudock, at least I think he'll at least manage the game. At this point in time in his career, can he go down and lead the team to 8 come-from-behind wins? No, obviously not. But at least it was nice to see a guy, when he was called upon, in Jake Rudock, throw the football to a receiver on our team. Very nice.
Very nice indeed. And I'll commend him on his vision in the pocket too. There's the one play where he avoided a couple players. He stepped up and ran for a first down, which, I know Stafford has gotten better over the years in having that pocket presence. But you're right. It's something that a Lions quarterback is going to have. They need to have that because with no Taylor Decker this year, Greg Robinson did look pretty good in the first game. I think that kind of eased some people's fears on what this offensive line is going to be. But still, more than likely, we need our quarterbacks upright. And that we have 2 quarterbacks who at least have some decent pocket presence.
And of course, we're going to talk about the devastating season-ending injury to defensive end Kerry Hyder. Very frustrating, very devastating. But I do want to bring up a point that I was thinking about today at the gym when I was working out. So I was at the gym and I'm seeing the kind of projections for the Indianapolis Colts. And everyone surrounding the Colts is wondering, when's he coming back? When's Andrew Luck with his shoulder going to be coming back to perform? Because the Colts look terrible on offense. They look terrible on defense. And that preseason game, if you're a fan of the Colts, is going to lead you to go crazy. But I was sitting there and I was wondering, okay, Andrew Luck's hurt. People are talking about him maybe just, sitting out to not play for a significant period of time because of the fact that, hey, why rush it? The team's not going to be that great anyway. He's probably the only superstar you have, and why risk him in any scenario? So I got to thinking, you know what? With the Lions, the way they're made up right now and how they look in terms of what they need a couple more pieces, right? You're basically 1 draft away from saying, look, Bob Quinn can have 3 drafts and a large stockpile of players. Would you be willing to sacrifice this year, 2017, if Stafford were to go down and say, look, you know what? Let's just say I'm going to sacrifice 2017, maybe only win 2 or 3 games, and then that way the Lions can get potentially a top 5 pick next year. And that might be one of the easy ways to really jumpstart the Detroit Lions. Would you be willing to sacrifice 2017, not to hope that Stafford gets hurt, but if something were to go down, and let's say it's a throwing and something with his shoulder, something similar to Andrew Luck, and he's not available, and you go to Rudock, or you say, hell, you go to Kyle, whatever you do in order to replace Stafford, would you be willing to sacrifice 2017 if you knew you could get a top 5 NFL pick next year?
I mean, I don't think we'd really have a choice there, John.
That's what would happen?
More than likely, we'd be in the bottom of. We'd at least have a top 10 pick, unless Jake Rudock really is some world beater and he is a decent, serviceable backup. Then yeah, we're going to be in the top 10.
See, then that's what got me thinking. Because when you're sitting 45 minutes on an elliptical dying, you say to yourself, you know what? This season, what's it going to prove this year? You're going to try to get back to the postseason. You're going to try your absolute best to win a game in the postseason.
You become a free agent destination. That's what you do.
That's what a successful season will do for this year?
Yeah, I think you do that. and then you build the confidence of this team. Another postseason trip for the younger players and giving them experience, and so that they know what to do when they get back there.
Right. And see, when I was thinking about all of this too, because I was so tired working out, I was like, okay, I got to think this through. The reason why I think this is that I want to skirt the natural progression of how you build a team. Okay. The Lions.
You just want to have your team right now.
Yes. Well, Jason, I tell myself, why would I want Stafford to go down? Why would I want him to be hurt and have an awful year this year in 2017? I say that because I'm tired of waiting. And on Thursday, I'm going to talk to Adam about something. It's going to be a very interesting topic regarding, watching football in terms of entertainment value versus our motivations and desire for the team to win. And stay tuned for that on Thursday on Doc and Jock. But I ask myself, okay, I've been watching the Lions since I was about 8 years old. I'm about 38. So that's 30 years of waiting and wanting and being disappointed. And I understand the natural trajectory of getting to the postseason, trying to win, trying to, go through the ups and downs. And I say to myself, look, at this point in time, I would be okay with skirting all that, having an atrocious year, go 1-15 this year, and get a top 2 pick. Now you combine it with all the talent that you have. Maybe a resurgent Matthew Stafford is hungry now that he's taken time away from football. Now you come back next year with a top 5 pick, a guy that can be impactful, can be a superstar, can also add to that team, whether it be on offense or defense. Now you jumpstart this whole waiting period of trying to get to playoff success. And I said to myself, oh yeah, I'd do that. I definitely would sacrifice 2017 in a heartbeat. I would even be willing to say, I would even go 0-16 again if we can get the number 1 pick, find an impactful player that can change the course of the Lions' destiny, because the traditional route hasn't helped. We still haven't won, Jason, one playoff win since the 50s. To take a non-traditional approach, I'm all about it. So that's what I was thinking at the gym earlier today.
See, I get it, and I get tanking, and I get trying to get one of the top picks. The issue is those top picks aren't guaranteed. You never know if they're going to work out.
They are in my rule because I love Bob Quinn. Right now, he's on my A+ board. There is no negatives with Bob Quinn other than maybe, just maybe, a little bit of a minor demerit for jipping, DeAndre Levy out of that $1 million. But I would do it too.
Now, if you
a little demerit, minor, like a 0.5 point.
What I would say is you might actually be better off if you're already going down the rabbit hole of waiting 1 year. Wait 2 years. Because what you do, if you do go the dreaded 0-16 or 1-15, you get the top pick and you get that team that needs a quarterback and you rake them over the coals for as many draft picks as you can. And you just keep building those draft picks, whether they're number ones or in rounds 2 and 3. And then you're building up the players that are really going to make up the core of your team. Because if we are finishing 1-15 at the end of this year, are you drafting a quarterback then?
No, I would say that if it's something where Stafford can come back and you got to give him a contract.
But you're not a Stafford guy, so you'd probably want to look at a quarterback. Are the quarterbacks there? I'm looking right now at a mock draft of 2018, and I see a couple of quarterbacks up there. I see Sam Darnold from USC. I see Josh Allen from Wyoming. And then the intriguing one, but probably somebody who doesn't really fit this offense, Lamar Jackson from Louisville.
Okay, so you're not going along my way.
So my God, no way.
Oh, big surprise. I'm not going to follow with what you do, John. I'm not just going to blindly agree with you. The players, other those, I see an offensive tackle from Washington. Saquon Barkley, the running back from Penn State, would be interesting. I'd like to see what he's going to do this year for them if he's going to have a repeat. I don't see that dynamic player in next year's draft that's going to come in and just change the face of this team.
Okay, so we were talking, and at the start of the year, you had him going, 11-5. I had him going 10-6, and now Taylor Decker's hurt. And unfortunately, what does everybody want out of the preseason? Just play the game and avoid injuries, and let's evaluate the talent. And unfortunately, in the second defensive series, Kerry Hyder goes down. It looked bad. It looked bad on film. And news broke on Monday that it was indeed torn Achilles tendon, out for the season, having surgery later this week.
I want to know whose decision that was, because it was the offense only. The first team offense played 1 series. Defense played 2 series. What do you get from putting your first team defense out there for another series? I mean, I get guys like I don't know, some of the new guys. Jared Davis, let him play. He's a rookie. Kerry Hyder is crucial to your defensive line. And with all the injuries and suspensions you have on the defensive line right now, that has to be the position, outside of offensive line maybe, that you need to protect the most at this point. Hyder goes down on a non-contact injury. So we've pretty much compromised our entire defensive line at the point. I think the top 4 defensive ends on our team right now are dealing with some sort of injury. So we're in a bind at the moment on the defensive line.
So you blame the Lions. They have some culpability in terms of this injury. Wow.
I want to know if it was Terrell Austin or if it was Jim Caldwell or if it was just that was the scheme, is that, hey, defense is going to go out for 2, offense is going to go out for 1. And they were just following the playbook.
So people are already saying that Bob Quinn, when he was addressing the team, kind of didn't really restock the defensive ends, and losing Hyder is really devastating because of the fact that Ziggy Ansah is still hurt at this time, and we don't know what he's going to show when he comes back because he was a shell of himself when he came back at the second half of last year.
Cornelius Washington hurt. Armonte Bryant hurt and suspended the first 4 games. Ziggy Ansah, dealing with injuries. Brandon Copeland, the guy who could start at linebacker, who could also be defensive end, also hurt in the game.
So is it time to panic? That defensive end position is a key position because Kerry Hyder was your sack leader last year. If you can't pressure the quarterback, if you can't get pressure on the opposing quarterback, if you let up runs and gashes and you can't stop the opponent from getting 3-4 yards per clip at running and you get no pressure, that defense might be gashed. And you might have a situation where you're going to be in some shootouts and we might be in positions where Stafford has to, again, lead the team to comebacks.
I don't think it's right to panic until at least week 3 of preseason. Let's see what they're going to do in week 2. And even then, it's going to be they're going to start playing the guys like Anthony Zettel and all the undrafted free agents that they got, and they're going to be getting first team reps and seeing what they can do. And it's going to take at least a week for them to really get used to that. So by week 3 of preseason, when they're taking on the Super Bowl champs and the New England Patriots, it's going to be probably the best test you're going to get because you're going up against a solid offensive line, one of the smartest and possibly best quarterbacks in the NFL. What are they going to do? And at that point, it might be time to panic. Push that panic button on the defensive line.
See, I'm panicking a little bit in that.
Of course you're going to panic.
With best case scenario, with Decker, with Kerry Hyder staying in the lineup, you still had a situation where it was going to be an uphill battle, and many people with those guys maybe had them with only 8 or 9 wins. Without those guys, it's going to be important for the next man up to come in and do some things. It's just one of those things where, based upon history, the Lions aren't really known for the next man up just coming in and dominating. Now, I know Kerry Hyder came in undrafted, and he did some things, and he was a productive player. So
George Johnson,
another credit to Bob
Willie
Quinn.
Young.
So it's one of those
Those
positions.
guys have stepped up into the defensive end line position.
Okay, but if you look at the Detroit Lions last year, what was one of their weaknesses? The defense.
They couldn't rush.
They couldn't rush the quarterback. Linebackers had some horrid numbers in terms of sacks and turnovers, and some legendary type stuff in terms of their futility. And so that's why they went out and got Jared Davis. So I'm panicking a little bit, but they got a couple weeks, and Kerry Hyder, all the best to him. It's unfortunate. We were counting on him to potentially have another breakout season, but now we just got to hope that Ziggy Ansah carries that defense. No doubt about it. But A'Shawn Robinson is a player, if you're looking at what he can do, he's been a disruptive force and a guy whose name's getting called quite a bit when he's on the field.
We are starting to grow our interior, but it's got to be a unit as a whole. And A'Shawn Robinson, known more as a run stopper. He isn't really known as the defensive tackle who's going to get in there, create a bunch of sacks. It's really a moot point unless the starters come back, or if the rookies can really make an impact. And like you said before with Golladay, and maybe he's the guy who, he's the diamond in the rough that we find. Maybe Anthony Zettel is that guy. Maybe the Alex Barrett or the Pat O'Connor, the guy from Eastern Michigan, could really be the guy, and he's just waiting in the depths of our team to shine in the NFL. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, another name besides A'Shawn Robinson is Anthony Zettel. This is a guy that's making some plays, and when he works with the first-team defense, he looks like he can kind of hold his weight. And so, he was able to make a play. I think he blasted by the Colts right tackle, and with Tahir Whitehead, got a nice tackle for a loss.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's honestly too early to judge any of the players too harshly, because you'll see, I mean, Tease Tabor got roasted early on in camp, and he came out, he had a solid team practice against the Colts, and he performed well in the preseason game. Tease Tabor is one guy, just seeing what this team's going to be. Michael Roberts dropped a bunch of
he's having a rough
rough one, but I think it's also, we have to give him time.
Yeah.
He is a rookie.
So some names to pay attention to outside of Anthony Zettel, Ashawn Robinson on that defensive line is Alex Barrett and Jeremiah Valaga. So those guys also contributed with some tackles and some sacks versus Indy. So pay attention to those guys in the second game and third game and see how they progress. But with the Lions, we're also basing our talks about in relation to history. And so we say the Detroit Lions have been so futile for so many years, and now you're seeing a couple injuries to guys that were key performers. Can they overcome it? Right now, you look at it and you say the defense is a concern, and they have to overcome it for this team to be successful. It's a major problem, and I hope that when the season starts and Ziggy Ansah can come back, that they can produce and that defense can gel. Because when you lose a guy like Kerry Hyder and you have a rookie at linebacker basically trying to lead that defense, it's going to be some things where there might be some struggles.
The team, regardless of their history, any team dealing with these types of injuries would have to overcome a lot. So it's going to be a wait-and-see game.
Jets at home, baby. You going?
No.
Saturday, I think, is the next preseason game. Jets.
I work.
You're working?
I got to put the baby to bed.
No doubt about it. I think the next game, I think, is a Saturday evening game. So I'll be peeking in for the second game, hoping that we can see a little bit more from Matthew Stafford and hoping that, we can continue to see some growth and some good competition. I think the one thing that people are noticing is that there is some depth and some competition forming at different spots, and different guys are doing different things. The team seems to be in a good spot at this point in time in terms of working through training camp, trying to earn positions, and I have full faith and confidence that Bob Quinn is shifting that depth chart all around each and every day, and the 53-man roster, however it shakes out, will be the best 53 guys that are available, and we'll see how it shakes out. But I was excited. I'm excited to dig into the Lions. I mean, look, we just talked for 40 minutes about the Detroit Lions. I felt like it was 5 minutes. I feel like we could talk for another 4 hours about it, and that was just after preseason game 1. So for all those people, if you're one of those people that doesn't care about overreacting, feel free, message us at Detroit Podcast. We'll read them all. We don't preface everything by saying, well, it's the preseason. I think it's a waste of time to just say, look, it's just the preseason. When, look, there have been guys that have performed, and I know the numbers will say that Kenny Golladay probably will regress throughout the regular season, and he'll be a rookie. But at the same time, if you're stifled by having hope, that's no fun to be a sports fan, and that's why we do this, is to rile it up and have a good time, and to maybe, just maybe, hope that Kenny Golladay can be that outlier, because many people would not have said that Barry Sanders was going to be this guy that was going to run for thousands and thousands of yards. Many people didn't think that, and then he comes into the league, and he's a superstar Hall of Famer, so why not wish it? Why not hope it? It's very exciting. And if he can carry it into the regular season, that's just another offensive weapon for Matthew Stafford. If he has that strong connection, Stafford to Golladay, maybe Stafford could earn $40 million a year. You never know. If Stafford throws for 50 touchdowns and 15 of them are to Golladay, hell, maybe Stafford's like, look, I'm going to target him instead of throwing it to drop to Miss Prime, Eric Ebron.
Speechless.
All right, Jason, let's take a break. We'll come back. Wrap up the podcast. Jason and I, diehard Sparties, we got to peek into what's going on with them. We had a little bit of a chat before the show started, and we have to talk about our Michigan State Spartans and see what's up with them in terms of college football. College football right around the corner. Stay with us.
Motor City Sports Rant, Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Jason, I want to tell you about our host site, Podomatic.com. When Adam and I first started this project, we were looking for a place to host all of our recorded audio, and thank goodness we found Podomatic. Super easy to use. Podomatic has been our host site since September of 2013. We've recorded 600 to 700 podcasts, and we've only used one host site. Why Podomatic, do you ask? Because it's easy to upload audio. It's easy to generate links for all of our supporters to find us. I mean, each and every day, we get great emails from supporters all across the country that say, great job on the Motor City Sports Rant. Great job on Doc and Jock. You guys are keeping us in the loop, and we live in Arizona, and it's unbelievable that we can keep in touch with Detroit sports through your podcast. Why are we able to have that great of success and followers all over the country and internationally? It's because we got a great host site. So if you're starting a brand new podcast and you want to reach the heights of success as the Detroit Sports Podcast Network, we recommend one host site and one host site alone, Podomatic.com.
Think it's a game.
I came up from nothing, nigga, you can't tell me shit. Yeah, did it on my own, take out my neck, take out my wrist. Yeah,
I swear I ain't never expected it to be like this. Now a nigga getting rich. I swear every day we lit.
yeah, every day we lit. Yeah, you can't tell me shit. Remember I was broke. Yeah, now I'm getting rich.
Yeah, when you diamond colder than a bitch, then you know you lit. When you quit to take a nigga bitch, then you know you lit.
Every day we lit. Yeah, every day we lit. Yeah, every day.
Motor City Sports Rant, Detroit Sports Podcast.com.
Can't take full credit for that one, Jason. That was featured on Hard Knocks, made their debut following the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I heard that song, and I'm like, what a great song to play for a football montage. YFN Lucci, Every Day We Lit. Great song.
Every day we lit. And
Good selection, though, right?
that wasn't bad.
Better than some of the other ones I come up with, right?
Better than yes.
All right, Jason, how excited are you for Michigan State football? Everyone, look, it's so classic and typical. Everybody that I talk to, I'm like, yes, I'm getting excited for college football. See what Michigan's going to do. Are they going to live up to the hype? Is Michigan State going to come back from that 3-9 season? And everyone's all like, oh, man, they're going to be 3-9 again. They're going to win 4 games. Everyone's like, oh, your program's over. It's done. Now that King Harbaugh's over there in Ann Arbor, just, fold up shop, call it quits. When you had some players get dismissed from the team with the talent of a Donnie Corley, it makes you kind of go, ooh, it's going to be a rough kind of thing. But I'm still excited to watch Michigan State football. I do think it's going to be a year of redemption. But in terms of success on the football field, when I look at the schedule starting September 2nd versus Bowling Green at home, I look at the 12 games, and I don't see more than 6 wins on this schedule. But at the same time, it doesn't lead me to believe that Mark D'Antonio's seat is going to be hot, unless, the caveat is, unless there's more player revolts, there's more player, discretions off the field. If the institutional cannot regain control, because, look, every football team has its challenges. Every football team has players that have issues with academics, that have issues off of the field. If Mark D'Antonio can rein it in, can bring everybody together, and can help this football team win games, then I think they're back on the right track. Is it going to be a quick fix? Hell no. If you're thinking Michigan State's going to be 10-2, you're probably smoking something really good. I see 6 wins out of this.
And, when we initially talked about it, I looked in it, and realistically, I think 7 wins is right around where they're going to be, 7-5. But looking at the schedule again, the way that I would approach this season is that there's really 3 games that I truly believe they have very little to no shot in. And those 3 games, Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State. So that leaves you 9 games this season. Looking at them, I think Bowling Green, Western, you shouldn't have an issue with. I think Minnesota, Indiana, Northwestern, Indiana should be a win. So there's your 3rd win. And then Maryland, Rutgers should both be wins. So you're at 5 at that point. So then between Northwestern, Minnesota, Iowa, and Notre Dame, those are all real toss-ups to me. And if they're at home, I do give the edge to them, but away, I definitely take it away from them. So I think you start knocking it down from 9 wins at that point. I think 9 would be the absolute highest because you pretty much have to have a perfect season at that point. And that's not really counting the game that you think the Spartans are just going to blow, because they seem to have one of those games every year where if they're on a roll, they have a slight hiccup, they have a misstep, and they'll lose a game to an Indiana at home. So it's realistically, I'd say 7 wins, but the possibility is there to maybe inch up to 8 or 9 wins.
Okay, see, when you look at it, you got to look at the trenches. Many people are complimentary of the defensive side of the football, as they should be, because Mark D'Antonio is a defensive guy. Right now, when you look at the youth of the offensive line, it leads you to believe that, okay, Lewerke as a starting quarterback is going to have some struggles. So with Michigan State, you're going to lean on L.J. Scott to kind of carry the load on offense, and you got to see how this defense is going to gel. But when you look at it right now on paper, the offensive line is very young and usually takes a little bit of time to gel. So how much pressure is Lewerke going to be under game to game? Can he step it up as well? He showed flashes last year, but when it's your job, you never know how the quarterback is going to respond. And so for me, to have
we're going to have other wide receivers step up now with no number one Donnie Corley.
No doubt about it. And in early practices, you've seen it now where Lewerke's been pressured a little bit. You've seen great work out of L.J. Scott. So obviously you got to lean on him in terms of the offense. You got to pound the rock. But can the offensive line establish those holes game to game? Can they win those interior battles? And we'll see, because at the same time, it's not all on L.J. Scott. You still got, Madre London and Holmes as well. So it's a good group of running backs over there at Michigan State. But at the same time, you got to look at it in terms of how the offensive line is going to gel, because if Lewerke's on his ass all the time, if you're starting off, if you're going to pass first down and you're looking at second, third down and long situations, it's going to be a really tough situation to run the football. So the offensive line is going to be key for me. I'm going to watch out for that, and I definitely want to see how Lewerke handles the starting role this year, because everyone's talking about it. How much can the notion or the mantra, get it back, play hard, and get back, where we were? How much can that really carry a football team? I believe that 3-9 is going to linger. Don't you think it's going to have a stench all over that program right now?
It'll have a stench if we follow it up with another 4-win or 5-win season. I think if you can at least get back to 6-6, being 500, making a bowl game at that point, then I think you're on the rebuild. You're on the rebuild, and that's really where we are. We had such a run with Michigan State. Harbaugh is definitely leeching the talent that we seem to be picking at, but D'Antonio still he's built this college program up before. I think this is going to be a real telling year if he's on the start of the rebuild, or if he's slowly moving towards either retiring or getting ousted there.
Do you think he comes back? Do you think that Mark D'Antonio, with whatever you decide the marker is, whether he gets back to Big Ten prominence, gets back to the college football playoff, do you see him picking himself up off of the mat and getting this Michigan State team back to national prominence, or even back to prominence in the Big Ten? Because it's so hard, because when you got knocked down, it wasn't like you were coming back fighting an amateur. You got Ohio State, you got Michigan, and they're only getting stronger. Michigan State has to get back to a baseline, and then if they were fine, if they were even rolling along from last year, let's say they had a decent season, like a 8-4 or 9-3 season last year. Let's say it didn't all collapse. You still got to compete with Jim Harbaugh, and he's going out there and pinching recruits from the SEC, and he ain't messing around. He's going out to California, overseas. He'll find anybody. He will leave no rock unturned in terms of finding talent. And you got Urban Meyer, who, naturally talented, is one of the best coaches in all of the country. So for me, it just leaves me sitting here going, okay, the best spot at least is to try to get at least a third and see what happens, because it's going to be tough, to reinvent Michigan State and try to get back up that mountain. We might have already seen the best from Michigan State football.
I think one thing that will be key in this
Sell me on Michigan State, Jason. I need it. Sell me on those Spartans, baby. My team, but you got to sell me on them.
It actually has more to do with what Michigan's going to do. So if Michigan State can come out and get back to 500, and if Michigan goes 8-4, 9-3 again, which it's a complete possibility with their schedule.
Look how lucky Michigan is. You hear the story? I mean, most people at the start of the season,
where it's like 7 players that are this.
Did you see what they tried to do? They tried to go buy books at a university store with illegal funds fraudulently. Take those books and sell them for cash. So how lucky for Michigan? One of Florida's key offensive threats suspended, one of 7 players. You believe that? That's lucky. I think that puts the game now pretty much in favor of Michigan.
Still an SEC team, though. If this season, if Jim Harbaugh, again, if he doesn't beat Ohio State, doesn't make a Big Ten championship, you're not in the college football playoffs, it's another year where there's so much hype surrounded around him, and nothing happens. I think Harbaugh's act could be weighing thin in Ann Arbor. And it's still the dude probably still wants to win a Super Bowl. I'm sure that there's 29 teams in the NFL who would gladly take Jim Harbaugh. So if Michigan has another down year, which would be 8-4, 9-3, not making a Big Ten championship, then you could be looking at the hot seat in Ann Arbor and Michigan State plodding along and rebuilding like they did before.
Ooh, look at you. You're saying Michigan State can rise up, not through their own caliber, but through the decline of Jim Harbaugh. That's ridiculous.
That's what happened.
That's absurd.
That's what happened before.
Jason, that's absurd.
Michigan declined.
Jason,
they declined under Rich Rod. We started going up. They started going down. Brady Hoke couldn't do anything. Mark D'Antonio kept going up.
Jason,
everyone says Jim Harbaugh is such a good coach. What has he done so far?
What percentage of fans that support Michigan do you believe are ride or die with Jim Harbaugh, no matter what he does? You think they'll be happy with 10-2 every year? Let's say, for example, he gets them into the National College Football Playoff, the top four, the Final Four. Let's say he gets them there. Don't you think that gives him a lifetime pass at Michigan? I think the fans love him there. I know there are people that are dissenting. I know there are people that are angry and want him to win the national title and to be like Alabama. There is a certain section of the population that will say that. But in terms of the majority, I think the majority are ride or die and are thrilled to have this guy that represents Michigan so well. I don't think he can do no wrong in those people's eyes. And I think that's the majority.
Not so fast, as Lee Corso would say. He's so much talk. He's already being praised as he's won a national championship.
I've read the articles. Is Jim Harbaugh overrated?
He hasn't won a national championship yet.
Is Jim Harbaugh overrated,
what did
Jason?
he do Yes.
Jim Harbaugh's overrated.
Jim Harbaugh is overrated.
Yeah, baby. I'm not going to go ahead and say it.
He's all right now. He is all flash. If he finally comes out and makes it to the college football playoff, then he's finally did something. He didn't do anything at Stanford, didn't win a national championship there. He got to the Super Bowl with the 49ers, didn't win. You might want to blame the lights for that one, and his brother. And he's through 2 seasons at Michigan. He hasn't beaten Ohio State. He's only beaten Michigan State once. He's won and lost a bowl game. No college football playoff.
Okay, yeah. He's finished third place twice in 2 years in a row. Hasn't had that victory versus Ohio State. Many people will say, look, you can go 10-2 every year, but if you're going to keep getting waxed by Ohio State and you're not going to continue to be competitive, if you don't start to notch some wins for Michigan in that rivalry, you're going to have some problems.
Yeah, dude needs to win the Big Ten this year. And that's if he does that, he silences all of his critics, silences me. And the only thing I think if he does anything, at least needs to beat Ohio State this year.
So to wrap up, you have Michigan State around 7 wins, but you could see them. You would not be surprised if they got up to 9 if things do shake out. And you are more confident than me in terms of how fast Michigan State can rebuild. And you're hoping that the downturn for Michigan can also help jumpstart and boost Michigan State. I'd take it if it happened.
Definitely. And I would preface it, I'd say 7 wins is my middle
baseline.
That's my baseline. That's where I see this team. My optimistic hope for this team, I would go 9 wins. I think my pessimistic would be 5 wins.
And you never know, Jason. That game Saturday, October 7th, should Michigan State win versus Notre Dame, win versus Iowa, maybe you're going in there 4-1, 3-2. Maybe that game, anything can happen. You never know. Maybe an injury happens. Probably every game you said was a guaranteed loss, no doubt about it. But
you have your
anytime you play Michigan,
4 games at home.
Yeah, it's nice.
2 of them are gimmies in Bowling Green and Western.
Yeah.
Notre Dame should be difficult. They do. Who's going to be their quarterback, though? You don't know. Deshaun Kaiser.
Right.
He could be the starting quarterback of the Browns this year. Not with them anymore.
We'll assume they'll probably be around 3-1 or 2-2. So it'd be a big game. I think the Spartans will be hyped up. It's early in October, but it's going to creep up on us.
They're
man.
3-1, and then they actually go in and beat Michigan. You're looking at 4-1.
It's not bad.
I know I'm getting a little crazy at this point.
You want to get crazy?
We need to end this podcast.
Yeah, if they say 4-1, Minnesota, Indiana, Northwestern, you probably, if you beat Michigan, you probably could maybe make a little bit of a run to maybe get to 8 or 9 wins. But
okay, you pulled my leg. They're going to win 10 games.
10-2. Nice. All right, that means if you're going to start talking like that, it's time to eject. Always enjoy the hour. Oh, man, great talking football with you, Jason. Hopefully you enjoy this week. Hopefully the Lions can walk into Ford Field, play a decent game versus the Jets, and no injuries. That's all we can really ask for.
Yep, more football talk next week, and who knows, maybe we'll even talk some Tigers. We'll see.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, please go to iTunes, rate, subscribe, rate us 5-star. You can always download and stream all of our podcasts 24/7 on demand. And the free and easy way to support us, check out our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. Great news ahead as always.
He's John. I'm Jason. It's the Motor City Sports Rant. Peace.
Okay, nice idiot. F you. Bye-bye.
Good day, sir. I said good day.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Loser.